After my whole military experience and getting back into the cage, I remember being really calm and relaxed. Like I was like, well, at least I'm not gonna die. You know what I mean? Like it's like a different mentality. It's a special operations unit. So we attach to like Army Special Forces, Green Berets, like Navy SEAL teams. And our job on the team is to do all like the close air support. This is my third time fighting in front of Dana. And then I won against a guy who was 10-0. I mean, I was totally brought into that fight to not win that fight. It's been a lot of years of a combination of things that kind of got me to where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Not too many people make it to the UFC when you're 31.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lobster and Beer TV. We're coming to you live from Bowling League this week because we forgot to film the intro. We won 2 out of 3 games. 2 out of 3 games. Big out.
This week we got a strike of a guest for you. UFC up-and-coming star, absolute legend, served our country proudly, and you will know his name in UFC, that's for sure.
He's fighting on March 30th.
March 30th.
Yeah.
Connor Matthews.
If you guys haven't gone to the website, we have new merch on there. Go check it out. And
link in the bio.
You know, a portion of the proceeds always goes to the American Foundation for Suicide
And also
Prevention.
to get Brian some bowling lessons because he has stopped recently, and we need him. We need him.
That is very true. As always, shout out Get Maine Lobster for supplying us with the fresh Maine lobster rolls. Head to their website. You can get live lobsters overnight from the dock to your doorstep. You order today, you get them tomorrow. It's an incredible product. They're the #1 dock to doorstep seafood shipping company in the country. And Big Al, let's eat, baby. Big Al, we're rolling, right?
We are rolling, baby.
Okay, sweet. Yo, Connor, I'm so hyped to have you on the show, man. Honestly, man, it's really truly an honor to have you on here. Your story blows my mind. I remember we met. What was it, like 2020 in Rhode Island?
I think it was pandemic times. I think so. You know, it was like you know, just like, what was it? What was that time we were down there? I think it was NFL draft football weekend for like my brother, and I met you some party down there just after the pandemic or something. I don't even know what we were doing, but yes. Yeah, we met you down in Rhode Island, Newport, Rhode Island, where I grew up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we met my brother JT and I met your brother and another friend on the golf course there, and ended up going out that night and just becoming boys. And I think it was the next time we came down from Boston was your draft weekend, and we all got to hang out.
Yep, that was a good time. Good times, good weird times, pandemic times, man.
Yeah,
things back to normal finally.
Seriously,
I couldn't fight back then, so I was having some troubles getting. I was having my problems back then. I remember, first of all, the pandemic, couldn't really fight, and then I kept on getting opponents pull out on me. So I was trying to schedule fights, and then like a week out from my fight, I'd have an opponent pull out to me. It happened to me like 6 or 7 times. Yeah. So glad to be in the UFC now. I don't have to deal with that anymore.
I know, man. Congrats on that. I want to jump into that, but before, man, let's dive into these lobster rolls.
Let's do it.
You just you wanted to go with the avocado on the roll today?
Oh hell yeah, avocado. What do you got? You guys hopping into some lobster rolls over there?
Yeah, where's yours?
I didn't know I was supposed to eat it on the podcast. I already smashed mine. Sorry, I fucked up. I already ate mine earlier. I saw a lobster roll and I was like, I'm putting this thing down. You don't realize when I'm not in fight camp, if I see it, I eat it, bro.
That's awesome.
Well, how was it?
Yeah, how was it?
It was absolutely delicious, man. I haven't had a lobster, dude. Especially, I haven't had a lobster roll all summer because I've been dieting, you know, being super strict to my diet. So like, I missed out on that whole thing. And that by the time I fought, I came back to October. Nobody's really eating lobster rolls this late in the season usually. You know what I mean? Like you missed your shot. Yeah. And so it was my first one I had like I think all summer, dude. It was delicious.
Oh man,
appreciate it.
Oh dude, absolutely, man. Happy to deliver it, dude. So Let's take it back, man. I want to obviously get to, the present day. You recently getting into the UFC, but let's go all the way back to childhood, man. How did you end up getting into martial arts?
So I got into martial arts. I got into traditional martial arts. Kempo was the karate I did when I was a kid. And I got it because my brother started doing Kempo, and anything that, like, when I was like a kid, my brother did, I always wanted to do. But I remember when I was like a little kid, that became my passion right away. I loved it. I was into like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and stuff.
Who's your favorite turtle?
My favorite turtle was Raphael. Was my favorite.
He was red, right?
Is that the guy's name, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was red.
Yeah, the red one. Yep. So I was more of a Power Ranger guy. My favorite. I love the Power Rangers. I like the Green Ranger. I don't know why. I like green. Green's always been my favorite color.
Yeah.
Me too.
The Irish in me. St. Patrick's Day. All that. So.
Yeah, I love it.
But the Green Ranger, yeah. So I was always big into that, and that's what really started my passion when I was a kid. And then I used to do the point tournaments. Like the karate point style tournaments, and but karate was always there because it's like a all season thing. I always played every other sport too, including that, like hockey, and I skateboarded, I surfed, I did like everything. So but martial arts is one of those things I would go back whenever I was like, my brother was like bullying me, or like I had troubles in schools or something like that. I'd go to martial arts. It kind of was like my happy spot. And that kind of played off later on in my life. After coming back from Afghanistan, and I was struggling with like PTSD and all that stuff. That's kind of why I got back into fighting again. And my plans wasn't to make it to the UFC, to be honest. It was, I was just doing it because it's my passion. That's what I love to do. That's
incredible, man. You mentioned, going overseas when you served. You were was it the U.S. Air Force that you were in?
Yeah, I was in the Air Force. So my job was, I was in the Air Force. I was a combat controller. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's a special operations unit. So we attach to like Army Special Forces, Green Berets, like Navy SEAL teams. And our job on the team is to do all like the close air support, calling the airstrikes, anything air to ground, talk to the drones that are in the sky to kind of like, see what's going on around us. I doing HLZs. So if like somebody gets shot, I need to like bring in like a helicopter to, save somebody. So anything to do with air to ground. I was air traffic control certified. So like FAA certified air traffic controller. And so that was my job. It's pretty sick.
Wow, that's awesome. Incredible, man. I mean, first off, thank you for your service, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and second off, I have never served, and I have no idea what it's like. But I can only imagine, especially being overseas in Afghanistan, it must have been quite a traumatic experience for you.
It was, and it wasn't. It was like when you're a hammer, everything becomes a nail, if that makes sense. Like that's what I wanted to do. That's what I signed up to do. I did 2.5 years of like training to do that job. So like you kind of expect what you're going to get. You know what I mean? Like I didn't go in there not knowing that I was going to be like thrown into combat. You know what I mean? Like that's what I was training for. So, it was, not to say that you don't bring back the scars from war, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that was my job. I was prepared to do that job. And, we went over there and we did it. I just kind of went there. I just got not lucky, but I kind of got over there at a crazy time where like Trump took office, and like the rules of engagement were like, like when Obama was in, we weren't really doing too much, right? Because, whatever policies. And then when Trump took office, they're like, all right, you guys are pushing out, you guys are doing missions. So we had a really high tempo deployment, and we got after it, and not, what I mean, it is what it was. I'm just happy it came home, we got home safe, and I think overall the whole thing was stupid why we were over there in the first place. I don't know why we're fighting people in Afghanistan, but it is what it is. But we were never did our job, and just happy to get back home.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. Were you able to practice martial arts while you were out there on duty?
So basically what happened to me, so my initial goal growing up, I wanted to play hockey and I was a kid.
Yeah.
So my whole life I was like, playing for that. I got hurt my senior year, blew out my shoulder. And so I missed my whole tryouts for hockey. So that's when I picked up martial arts and I started fighting. So I fought for 2 years. My parents started getting after me after 2 years. They're like, all right, dude, your plan was to kind of play college hockey and go do that thing. You're not doing that. What are you going to do? So that's why I joined the military. Really, you know what I mean? I was like, I don't know what to do. So I was just going to pick like the hardest job I could possibly find in the military. And then I did that. And then so
That's badass.
Which was awesome. The training was awesome. The community was awesome. Everything was cool about that. I did my deployment, but when I came home from my deployment, I was just kind of like, all right, well, I did that. I'm not going to do another 6, you know what I mean? I don't really want to do that for the rest of my life. And that's kind of when I started training a lot again. I was like, and I was kind of messed up at the same time. I was like, dealing with like the traumas of war. And I was like, all right, well, maybe just get back into martial arts to kind of get my mind off of thinking about all that shit. And that kind of just flourished into like, I got better then than I ever did in my entire life doing martial arts. And I think it's just like the discipline and like the mentality I learned from, the military, I kind of applied that to martial arts.
Yeah.
So when I took like 3 or 4 fights when I was still active duty, amateur fights. And I did good in those. And I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. So that's when I decided to, train. But other than that, man, I would train here and there while I was in the military, but it wasn't like, not really like 5 years. I took 5 years off basically for martial arts. I would still like hop in a gym if I was like somewhere in the country and I saw a gym, I'd like go in and take a class, but I wasn't really training for those 5 years.
And what do you, so you took your first 5 amateur fights is when you were still enlisted. Where did those take place? And, obviously, I mean, they went pretty well. You went 5-0, I'm assuming. So, how'd that go? And like I said, what was the mindset going into those?
You say my first amateur fights coming back from the military?
Yeah, well, you said so your first 5 were when you were still active military. So they let you fight too at that point?
Yeah. So I was fighting out in Washington State. And my mentality was totally different from when I was like when I was a kid and I used to fight, I'd be like scared as you know what I mean? Because you get into a fist fight and I was like an 18-year-old kid and I'm getting there with like a full grown man. And I remember just being scared as hell. But like after my whole military experience and getting back into the cage, I remember being really calm and relaxed. Like I was like, well, at least I'm not going to die. You know what I mean? Like it's like a different mentality. It's like, it's like baby shit, you know what I mean? Like compared to like jumping out of planes and scuba, like all this other dangerous stuff I used to do all the time. I was like, it's just like, what's the worst that can happen? You get knocked out. And that kind of gave me a lot more like confidence and control comparatively to my opponents who are going in there probably kind of scared and nervous. It kind of just gave me that mental edge. And I still think it gives me that mental edge. You know what I mean? I like the thing about special operations is they train you how to be like calm and collected in like crisis, dangerous situations. That's what we train for. So it's like a fist fight is like, it's just a fist fight. You know what I mean?
What were you training at that time? Like, what would you say that your skill set was? Because I know you're big into kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. Was that always kind of what you were into and good at? Or did that take time to develop once you started going?
So I have had a lot of different portions of my life where I kind of got just kind of what was available. So like when I was in the military, and I was out in Washington, my kid, Carlos Lazoya, he actually moved out here to the East Coast with me. He was my wrestling coach. He was just there. He was a college level wrestler and he was really good at jiu-jitsu. Me and him are just buddies. So like that I got really good at jiu-jitsu and wrestling when I was with him just because I hung out with him all the time. And then, like as life goes on, you start up these relationships with different guys and you kind of get really good just because you're with those people of that portion of my life. Like my Muay Thai coaches, like I had this kid, Micah. He ended up living in my house, being my roommate, but he was also like a Muay Thai coach. So then I got really good because I was living with him, just training with him every single day and day in and day out. So it's like, not like I had any like specific ideas of where I wanted to get good, but like just sticking to martial arts in general throughout my life. I've had different portions where I got really good at different parts like boxing or jiu-jitsu, just by like kind of who I surrounded myself with, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Do you find yourself then when you're fighting, do you find yourself then just you kind of using them as a Rolodex instead of going straight to one that you might know a little bit better?
So I like for my fights, it's like I think I'm a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Like that's what I call myself when it comes to fighting. Like I really do think I'm pretty good at everywhere. So I'm not really the best at anything. So like I think that's really hard to deal with when you know somebody's trying to set up to fight me. You don't really know where I want to bring the fight because I can kind of bring it everywhere and I'm pretty good everywhere. So I really try to base my fights. Like this guy I knew I was just about to fight for the Contender series. He was a really good kickboxer. So I knew he didn't want to go to the ground. So I just literally worked my fight camp to be like, okay, I'm just going to bring this. I'm not necessarily a wrestler. It's not what I did I didn't wrestle in college or anything, but I knew this kid didn't want to go there. So that's where I brought the fight just to bring it to the places he didn't want to be.
Would you say too, for preparation, because I guess everyone does it differently. Do you watch film of your opponent and then during your fight camps, are you bringing in guys to mimic that kind of, or again, do you just trust in your skill and kind of go with what you know? And like, are your fight camps different every time, or are they similar?
So now, yeah, I used to like train at a different gyms, but now I train out of the New Cartel. So I have a new head coach, and I've been with him for the last 2 fights, and he basically takes over everything. His name's Tyson Chartier. He was 2020 Coach of the Year for the UFC. So you know he's really good. I work with like top. Some of my training partners is Rob Font. He's like top 5 in the bantamweight division. Calvin Cater's like top 10. So I train with those guys now. So like I'm just getting the best of the best work. And they set up my fight camp for me right now. But I used to be kind of on my own. And I just kind of had to figure it out. But now it's kind of like they tell me, whatever we're going to work on, I just listen to the coach and he kind of tells me what to do.
What is a day? What is like? Can you take us through just like a normal day in fight camp? Like from start waking up to going to bed and what you're doing?
You probably do some like morning keg stands and hit the pipe and all that, right?
No, yeah. So I mean, I'm basically training like I'm training two times a day. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy. When I was younger, I'd be able to train like 3 times a day and just keep going. But I'm like getting older, so it's like
miss those days.
There's a exactly. I need a recovery day here and there, but I train 2 times a day. I do strength and like a normal day. I do strength and conditioning in the morning. That usually takes like it's like an hour. It's like an hour and a half of it. Most of it's lifting, and I do like mobility work. I do like, I have a good strength and conditioning coach. It's not just like lifting weights. It's a lot of like explosive work, jumping, all that kind of stuff, band works. Then I do like, a lift. A lot of my lifting now is not heavy weight. It's like kettlebells and stuff and just like a lot of balance work. Balance squats and stuff like that, one-legged squats, one-sided everything. And then I do some cardio. My cardio I do on like a lot. I don't run a lot because in the military I used to run a shit ton, but I fucked up like my knees doing that a lot. So now I do a lot of my conditioning on like the Echo bikes. You ever see those things? They suck. I hate them, but I do a lot of that. And then in the afternoon I go to my 3 days a week I go to the New Cartel and we do mostly a lot of wrestling and striking work with my team. You know what I mean? So that's like an hour and a half practice. And then that's it, man. And then the other days when I'm not up there training with them, I'm working with my Muay Thai coach. Like, I'll do a pat take today. I did a pat session with him. And then tonight I taught a class, which is kind of like training. You know what I mean? I'll roll with them. Some like newer guys. I think teaching is just as valuable as going to class and learning because like it's my chance to like digest the things that I'm learning and then teach it to somebody else, which makes you understand it a lot better. So I really enjoy like teaching a couple days a week, and that's why it's a beautiful. And I got a basement. I got a cage in my basement at my house. And it's awesome. So yeah,
awesome. I want to get into
Mom's basement MMA, baby.
I want to get into the class a little more, but real quick then too, because I know you had mentioned early on about your diet. What are you just eating? What is it? How many calories a day do you eat when you're in fight camp? And then what is it? Just bland chicken and rice?
Nah, it's not. It's honest. Well, at the end, it is. At the end, like when I'm really. So right now, I eat whatever I want. Mm-hmm. Like I can't eat enough food to really. You know what I mean? I'm lifting. I'm working out. I'm training. Like I stay the same weight and eating whatever the hell I want to. Obviously, I just avoid like shit. I don't drink. Is the biggest thing, man. I think alcohol is like the number one thing that will like put you below. It slows down your metabolism and it just like up, it fucks up your sleep. So, you know, that's the number one thing. Other than that, though, I'm eating anything and everything. And then when I'm in fight camp, I have a nutritionist and she writes my diet plans for me. And yeah, it kind of gets boring. Like the last 4 weeks, I'm eating like a lot of like chicken for not chicken for rice, like eggs. Actually, it's not that bad. I have like, you know, eggs with like a piece of toast for breakfast, the avocado. Lunch is gonna be like chicken and rice, and then dinner's like steak and potatoes. And it's like pretty basic stuff, but like as you get closer, she starts, you know, bringing you smaller portions. And yeah, so it's like 3 or 4 weeks of just kind of like eating boring stuff, but you know, it's not too bad. Other than that, man, I eat whatever I want. I just avoid just eating like ice cream and like soda and like shit that's like really bad for you. That's very obviously bad for you.
Yeah.
I mean, like right now, I'm smashing a lobster roll, no problem. Like not even thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like,
what's your normal weight? What do you normally weigh?
My normal weight's 166.
And then when you cut down to 145?
Yeah, 145. And honestly, I stay about 166 all the way until 3 weeks out. And then I start weighing, you know, smaller portions and I diet down to like 55. So I diet down like 10 pounds. And then I do my water cut from like 10 to 45. So I'm only losing 10 pounds of water weight. And I'm only doing that like for one day. You know what I mean? You want to just the morning of, like when I wake up on weigh-in day, I'm usually like 148, go to the sauna, lose 3 pounds in the sauna, and then I go right to the weigh-ins. So I'm not one of these guys that like kill myself and do like 10, 15 pounds in the sauna. I really just like, I try to just get the diet and just, so, I mean, I'm not a huge 45er to be honest, comparatively. Like the kid I just fought was 6'1" or something like that. These guys are pretty big, man. Like some of my training partners are all 45ers and they're like 6'1", 6'2". So it's crazy. People do some crazy shit, you know. I wish it was I wish you just fought the weight class. Like there was no water cut at all. Yeah. I think it's just like sanctioned cheating, you know. It doesn't really make any sense to me, but you just kind of got to do it if you want to compete at the highest levels.
Because then too, once you weigh in, what's the max weight you can then go into the fight at? Like, do they don't weigh you anymore? Can you put back on the 10 pounds about 10, 15 pounds?
Yeah, there's no rehydration clauses, is there?
No, there's not, dude. When I weighed in at 45, I was 163 stepping in the cage.
Oh, damn. So you went right back to normal. Wow. That's crazy.
In 20, right back. Because in the process of when you're cutting weight, you do this thing called water loading. So you're basically drinking a shit ton of water the whole week before you do your weigh-ins. And then like, say I'm weighing in on a Friday, on Wednesday is my last day of drinking water. So all day Thursday, I'm just drinking like a bottle of water. That's it. So your body gets used to like flushing the water out of your system. And also on top of that, you cut your sodium and you cut the carbs out of your diet. So carbs and sodium hold on to a ton of water in your body. And once you cut your sodium and your carbs and you cut the water source off, dude, your body weight just like it shoots down like crazy. So after you weigh in, first thing you do is you start drinking. You get sodium back. You have special drinks that they give you, like rehydration drinks. You put those things back into you. You start eating, dude. You put that size right back on. It's pretty crazy.
Do you notice a big difference from when you're like weighing in to how you feel to when you step in the ring, as far as like just strength, stamina, all of that? Does it affect you a ton, or? It's
hard to tell because of the adrenaline you have on fight day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like fight week, man. Like you have like a different. It's like a different feeling when you're getting ready to get like I'm ready to fight. So it's like there probably is a strength thing like that. But I just don't realize it because I'm ready to fight. So like I always usually like. So last year Contender Series, not this one, I just won the one, but I was on the Contender Series a year ago. Before that, I had a bad weight cut. It was my first time going to Vegas, first time traveling, and I just didn't do it right. And I only got up, usually I get up to 165 on fight day. I only got up to 153. Ooh. So I had a really bad, like my rehydration, weight cut, I made weight fine, but my rehydration wasn't good. So I felt it that time. Like I remember when I was like about to walk out, you got to put on Contender Series, you got to push and open the doors and then you walk out. Yeah. And I pushed open, I go to push open the doors and I'm like, oh, that shit felt heavy.
Wow.
That's like, that's not good. That's not a good sign.
Damn. So yeah, you were talking about adrenaline. I'm a big adrenaline junkie. I grew up riding action sports. I rode BMX all the time. Would you compare that? I know you said,
Yeah.
I know you served. Would you compare that adrenaline rush to, you know, going out on a mission or something overseas? And would you compare it to, you know, fighting?
So my buddy was asking me this the other day. It's a different kind of yes, because like, I remember when I was overseas and like when you get into like contact something like that, you got like your ruck on and you have all your heavy gear, dude. You can fly. You're running around like you're not thinking about the shit that's on you and how much weight you have weight on you.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's the only way. It is very comparable, just like that. It's just like, you know, so like, yeah, there's probably shit wrong with you, but like on fight day, you ain't feeling it because you're just like that adrenaline is kicking. Your body you're getting into that fight.
Yeah.
It's a crazy drug, dude. Like this last one, dude. I had a war. It was pretty. I mean, I beat the guy, but it was like, you know, he hit me some good shots, and I felt so that night. And then plus, I'm pumped because I just won. You know what I mean? I got my UFC contract, so I go home, and you can't like the last thing you want to do is like celebrate by go drinking and stuff like that, right? So you just kind of like go eat a lot of food. Then I go home, and I'm like sitting at home, and I'm just like staring at the ceiling in my bed, like, all right, I can't sleep because I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I just
Kind
I
of
was
on
pumped
that
up,
high. Yeah.
and so I stayed up. Yeah, it's a great thing. I stayed up the whole night. The next day, you know, we had to fly out of there the next day after my fight. So when we go into the airport in the morning, then all that adrenaline just wore off. And then all of a sudden, dude, I feel like, dude, I got hit by a car, dude. I was just like, oh, dude, I literally needed to get a wheelchair from the all the way to the terminal. I needed to sit in the wheelchair, dude.
That's great.
Yeah,
It was insane,
I was
dude.
gonna ask you what that next week is
Yeah.
like after a fight. I mean, I imagine you got to be sore and just beat up, depending on how the fight goes, obviously. But
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, you're sore, but it's like if you win, it's a good sore. You don't give a fuck, dude.
right.
You know what I mean? Like I don't care if you win, but if you lose, yeah, it hurts a little bit more. for
Yeah,
sure.
I bet.
No, like things that hurt, you don't realize it, like because you're throwing kicks at the guy. Like my shins hurt, even if I'm landing my kicks. You know what I mean? Because when we train, we usually wear shin pads and like, you know, big puffy gloves and stuff, so you don't feel it that much. When you're fighting, even if you land your kick, dude, it hurts.
Yeah,
Like
those legs
my
kick,
shins had a whole bunch of big welts and bumps all over it.
those
Oh, I
leg kicks
bet.
get brutal.
Yeah, the smack
kept-
that you
I
just
kept-
hear on TV is insane.
But you don't feel it in the fight though. So like,
Oh,
you watch
yeah.
that TV, like yeah, I like he threw a kick at me and I checked it with my shin. I leaned into it just to put my shin on shin with them, and that did not hurt. I thought it was gonna hurt, and then I
Wow.
felt it, and I was like, oh, that didn't hurt at all. I'm just gonna keep on doing that. And then like the next day, I'm like, oh, that
Oh man, dude. So in addition to the physical training before a fight, do you have a spiritual side? Do you meditate? Do you do breath work? Do you incorporate? Do you have?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have someone that works with you on that stuff?
So I do have a breath coach. His name is Michael Cristoforo. He's like a Wim Hof guy. So
Yes.
so we're big
Love
into
that.
getting into ice bath, big into breathing. Personally, I get spiritual. I feel like on fight week, you know what I mean? I do a ton of meditation. I do my breathing exercises every single morning at sunrise when the sun's coming up. I hop outside and I like to do my breathing exercises as the sun comes up, and it just kind of like, I don't know, I just turn into a hippie. And I like it, dude. I think visualization is a huge part of like, you know, figuring out, you know, just seeing victory, seeing everything. And I think it's very important, and I like it. And I do it all the time, man. If I'm stressed out, I'm a big into Wim Hof breathing and getting in the ice bath. I think ice bath is like the best thing. It just challenges your mind. My thing, I do 5-minute ice baths, so it's like I know it's like I can sit in 5 minutes of discomfort in the ice, then I can sit in for a round for 5 minutes and be in the cage for 5 minutes and be completely comfortable. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Did you do some of those similar? You had mentioned, you know, for people to know, kind of getting out of the military. Did you do similar things to deal with that stress, or did you have other things that you did to help cope with that type of stress?
For me, yes, I did. I mean, I like the Wim Hof thing. I always, like I said, and I think just martial arts in general was for me was my biggest coping mechanism, because not only is like martial arts good about like, you just go there and like when you're training and you're fighting, you're only thinking about what you're doing. You're not thinking about anything. For me, that's meditative, right? It's just like being in the zone, and like you have to focus on what you're doing and nothing else in the world matters. You know what I mean? And also on top of that is the community you have within a martial arts group is very important. And I feel like a lot of veterans, when they get out, they don't have anything like that. You know what I mean? They get bored. They just don't, they go to the gym and lift weights, and then that's it. That's all you got. I mean, that's not that fun after a while. You know what I mean? That gets pretty monotonous. So they start drinking a lot. So I think that for me, it was like, yeah, the martial arts community. And then like on top of that, just like the breathing, just like, I feel like you just get control of your nervous system. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest problem. The biggest problem is people get into this fight or flight and they don't know how to control their nervous system. And I think breathing helps you bridge that gap.
Would you say too, your previous experience, you said, the service taught you how to be calm in crazy situations. Do you think that that's kind of an advantage because you already kind of know how to be calm when I'm sure a fight week is hectic as well. Obviously there's different levels to it, but your experience knowing how to be calm, do you think that kind of gives you an upper hand going into a fight?
Absolutely. 100%. I know exactly where it really came from. So, kind of also goes with breathing is we did a lot of water confidence in the military, which is like dive school. So you had to learn before you go to dive school. You have like 5 weeks of like basically kind of like getting around in a pool. That's the only way I can describe it. A lot of like underwater work. There's actually portions where you're breathing off a snorkel and the instructor brings you down and they thrash you around, and then like you go to take a breath and they put their hand over the top so you can't breathe off the snorkel. And this is all pass fail. So if you go pop and you take a breath of air and go back, that's a failure. So you can't do that. So like, there's like they put all this stress into you with all the water confidence, and the best thing this and all that, like you're getting thrashed and drowned, is just to stay calm. That's what you got to do to survive those things. And so you learn how to do that in the military, and that's helped me in fighting and everything else. Basically, everything else I do, that's what helped me the most is the skills I learned from water confidence, which is also kind of like that breathing thing. You know what I mean? When I do a lot of times I do breath holds, and you get, and I let all the air out of my body and I just stay as long as I can go, just without no air at all, which you get in that panic feeling, and you want to think you know what I mean? You just fight that, you see how long you can go. You know what I mean? And that just trains your brain to be mentally strong. I mean, you take air, you can take everything else away, pretty discount, but you can't take air away. People, yes, when you start freaking out.
Yeah. What's your record?
That's what I was just going to ask.
How long?
Like 4 minutes, something like that.
Wow.
That's with air out of my system, and then, yeah.
Damn,
yeah.
that's almost a whole
4:30,
round.
I think it was. So yeah. Right now, probably not that good, but I'll be honest. After my fight, I get very, very disciplined and strict leading up to my fights. You know what I mean? I make it more of a part of my routine, and then after my fight camps, I'm just like not doing anything. You know what I mean? I'm just like chilling, which I should be doing it right now to recover faster, but. Yeah. I gave myself a little mental break, and then I hop back into it when I need it.
Yeah. So, dude, take us through the Contender series, the last fight you just had. You show up to the Contender, the UFC arena. What does your day look like once you get there, fight day?
So I'll tell you about my fight week. This is like the best fight week I ever had, and then that kind of goes into the fight. So last time I went, I flew out. I'll tell you, this is the time I lost. I flew out on a Saturday. All right. And so basically you're cutting weight at this point. You fly in on a Saturday, you get there, you got to get to your hotel. They put you in like a hotel. They don't put you in like a nice hotel. Sunday is weight cut day. So you're not drinking any water at all. Monday you weigh in, and then Tuesday you fight. It was like, so you had 4 days, there's a different time difference, from Boston to Vegas. You had to get adjusted to the time, the jet lag. I was up, right? This time I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I went out there 10 days early, and we got an Airbnb with my team. And I was just lucky that my fight team with Rob Font, Calvin, the name of my team is the New England Cartel. They went out there the same week as me, kind of basically because I was fighting, and plus they were getting ready. My teammate's getting ready for a big fight right now, so he was going out there to train. There's a lot of good fighters out there, so he went out there to go get ready with those guys. So I had my team around me with me the entire time. And we used to use the UFC PI, which is the Performance Institute. It's like Disney World, dude. It's amazing. You go there. It has like ice baths. It's got hot tubs. It's got sauna. It's got a full, beautiful gym. I was training with just not hard because I had fight coming up, but I was training with a whole bunch of other UFC fighters. And I think that was just it was like the best week of my life. Although I knew I had a fight at the end. If I didn't have a fight at the end, I was stressed out about my fight, obviously. You know what I mean? So you can't really enjoy yourself too much because you're getting ready for a fight. But at the same time, it was like the best week of my life. And then, fight day came. So you show up to the UFC Apex, and dude, they have like a system. It's not like they know it, you have a spot to be. You show up, you do your doctors, you do your medicals, you go into a room, and basically I stay in this padded room with white walls for until 3 hours until my fight. You have a TV in there, so you're watching it on the live TV, so you can watch the fights before you going on, and then so it's kind of crazy because you're watching it live. You know what I mean? Like you're watching a normal UFC event, and then it's your turn, and then it's your turn to go, and then you walk out, and then you're going into the actual event. So it was kind of weird, you know what I mean, to do that.
Oh, I bet.
But it was awesome, man. I had a really good experience this time just because I had my team with me, and it was just and my coach, it's just way better than the way I did it the first time. So I warmed up with my teammates because they're UFC fighters, so they're able to come to the back to help me to warm up, and it was just it was money. I knew going into that fight, man, it sounds weird, but I knew I was gonna win. Even though I was fighting a 10-0 Brazilian. Do you know what I mean? That I was the underdog, but I knew in my head, I sometimes you just have a feeling about how things are going to be, and I just knew that I was going to win that fight.
Yeah. So that when they call your name and they're like, "Yo, you're about to come out and fight," what's going through your head?
Yeah, that adrenaline rush.
Yeah,
has to
what's
be
going
insane.
through your head in that moment where it's all right, it's time to walk out of this room and walk to the cage. What's going through your head, and do you have a certain conversation you're having with yourself as you're walking out? Are you trying to just stay present and really let the thoughts pass? How do you go about it?
I try to stay, like I said, stay as calm as possible. I don't try to build it up more than anything. It is because I train a certain way every single day. So why would I treat this fight different than what I do for training? You know what I mean? Like I don't get jacked up every single time I go to the gym and try to go train my friends. You know what I mean? And we're sparring and everything. I don't get myself all amped up to do that. Because that's so I try to keep myself in the same mindset that I keep myself all the way through training. I literally think about it this is basically me sparring, except we're trying to knock each other out. But we are doing that in the gym all the time. We fight each other all the time. But it's you got to stay. You don't want to treat it different than what you treat it in any other given day. So that's my mindset. I literally, I'm busting jokes with my coaches and stuff like that. You're just trying to keep it as light as possible because it doesn't help you to get yourself all amped up and angry. You try to fight with an emotion. Last thing you want to do is fight with emotion. You just want to fight, cool, calm, collected, and go in there. Okay, that's why I go Zen mode. I show you. I got my new tattoo. It's it's like a Buddhist monk with an axe.
That's
badass.
That's clean.
That's awesome, bro.
So I try to keep it that's my mentality. That's my mentality. Is just keep it light, Zen, but also you're going in there to kill somebody.
Once you're actually in the octagon, are you more in a straight flow state that you're not at all thinking, or do you strategically think about kind of what you want to do next?
Definitely Zen flow state. Yeah, that's what it is. It's calm, collected. It's I don't know if you play any sports or you mountain bike or skateboard or anything like that. You're reacting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have time to think when you're actually doing it. It's once that ref goes go, it's all reaction from there. You've already drilled it. You've already practiced it. You just kind of go. I mean, you know what we're doing. There's a little time sometimes where you push. You have that that quitting in any situation, or you have that idea I don't want to do this, right? If you're doing a jump and I don't want to do this, why am I doing this? And then you just send it, right?
Yeah,
you get exactly. You fight those battles in your head with the fight, right? but you just got to be like, but I'm here, I'm doing it. So it's going to happen. You just win those little battles in your head, you know what I mean? And then that's it. You just kind of, it's all reactionary.
Yeah. I've always been curious too, like during a fight, you hear the coaches yelling, you know, certain commands, moves. How much does that actually influence you while you're in the ring? Are you actually listening to them and performing those, or is it really just kind of you're in the moment and you're not even thinking anything?
100% listen to my coaches. I mean, that's what we do in practice and training, is that I'm listening to them, and you know what I mean? They have a different outside perspective to see things that you maybe not be realizing or seeing. So I'm listening to them the entire time. I think that's one of the things that makes me good at fighting, is that I can take like that again, like, right, taking that step back and being calm and collected, and not just getting laser focused on you know, just the fight. Is I'm listening to my corner. I'm listening. There's like 3 guys I can hear. Is my 2 guys in my 2 corners, and my other coach was sitting in the stands, and I could hear him too. Just like that voice, like picked out of the crowd, I can hear him from the stands. So I just knew, you know, I do that in training all the time, and I was really focusing on what they're saying, what to do.
I mean, that has
if
to
you
be
watch
a big
the fight, my coach, he goes, Connor, kick him in the calf.
That has to be a
What's
big
that?
part. That has to be a big thing that you took from the military too. I gotta believe, is because in the military, especially in combat, that it's all about communication and being able to still do your job. So that in itself is probably one of the biggest advantages that you have right there as well, and that you can do that.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, like, it's just like, it's been a lot of years of a combination of things that kind of got me to where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Not too many people make it to the UFC when you're 31. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way I did it. So I think that all those things helped me out to be able to do it. And yeah, like if you ever listen to my fight, my coach goes, Connor, kick him to the calf. And I threw like this weak little, like the worst kick I've ever thrown. Like I was a little pussy kick. And my coach is like, kick him harder than that. Harder than that. So
That's awesome, dude.
He was like so mad because he's mad because I'm always blasting him. Like when he's holding pads for me, he has this thing as like a calf. I don't know if you guys know like calf kicks in the UFC. Like they hurt like a mother. Getting kicked in the ass. There's like a nerve in your leg, and he's been holding pads for me forever. And I keep on like, you know, he's practicing drilling these hard calf kicks on him while he has the pad on. And he's always like, you know, limping after the sessions. Then we go to the fight and I throw a calf kick and it's like the weakest calf kick. He's like, are you kidding me? After all those calf kicks you've been drilling me in practice, that's what you throw.
Dude, my favorite moment of that fight was actually the post-fight, the press conference. And you won the unanimous decision against Jer. And you said at the end, you were like, I'm undeniable. You just got your UFC contract. At the end, you were just like, I'm undeniable. Like that was so powerful. Yeah. And what, I know, like for you, like what does that mean when you claim like I'm undeniable?
So this is why it kind of, for me, it's like, so I fought last year on the Contender series. I had a battle and it didn't go my way. Right. And then, I had another opportunity to fight in front of Dana White for Dana White's Looking for a Fight, which is a show on YouTube. If you guys watch that, it's pretty good. And I fought on that show. I fought another guy who was pretty good. He was 8-3. I beat him. And instead of giving me a contract, they were like, all right, well, we'll invite you again to come back to, you know what I mean? So then I fought again. You know, this is my 3rd time fighting in front of Dana. And then I won against a guy who was 10-0. I mean, I was totally brought into that fight to not win that fight. You know what I mean? They wanted this 10-0, 6'2" Brazilian kid, you know, to be the next UFC star for sure. That's why they brought him in there. Yeah. And, you know, and then I beat him. So I was just like, you know what? You can't deny me. Like, I beat that guy. I know I fought 3 times and I had 3 tough fights. And you know, that's what, to me, I was like, I'm undeniable. Like, you know what I mean? And this also comes from like, and everything in life. Like if you want to play, if you want to, you know what I mean? Put the work into play. You know what I mean? With anybody, you know, you put the work in, so there's no other choice besides you because you are the guy. So that was my mentality about it.
Yeah, dude, that video you posted of you and Dana talking and him basically giving you the flowers that you deserved,
Yep.
man. Like that must have felt amazing for you.
Yeah, dude. It was even better. Like, so like obviously you want like when I was back in hindsight, right? I'm like, oh, I want to be in the UFC. When I lost that first time, it's like, dude, you know what I mean? Like now I gotta climb my way all the way back up there and get another shot. And so like, dude, after going through that mental roller coaster all that time, it means so much more to me now because I'm happy I lost that fight last year because it's just so much more rewarding now. So it's like, and that's good to bring forward. Like anything that really happens to you in life, it may suck at the moment, but you can always go in the long run, right? You can grab strength from that. And, as long as you do the things after that to correct those actions, you can really become a stronger, better person, whatever the fuck it is. It doesn't have to be fighting. It could be anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as you take that, you sit with that loss and then, you make something out of it.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. And I'm curious, like, so after that huge high happens, you win the fight, the press conference, you go back to your hotel room. Was there a moment for you where like everything we just kind of ran through your mind? Starting martial arts as a kid, going to the military, coming back into martial arts, not knowing if there was ever going to be an actual future for you in the UFC, and then all of a sudden, in going to the Contender series, losing the first time, then coming back around, getting back in a second time, and then finally getting that UFC contract, which tens of thousands of fighters dream of, and now you're one of those people. Did you have that moment going back to the hotel room, like, oh my gosh, man, this is actually reality now?
Yeah, there's 100%. There's a couple times where like a wave comes over you and I was literally crying. You know what I mean? Like, definitely just like, yeah, dude, there was moments like in the back where like even my coach cried. I made my coach cry, which was crazy. You know what I mean? Like how like, dude, it's been 4 years of me and him grinding together. Like, there's been lows like where like, is this even worth it? You know what I mean? Things that, everybody has those questions about everything, or days where I just like I feel like I plateaued in my training. Like I wasn't getting better for a long time. Then I'd bust through, you know what I mean? There's like a lot of things that happen.
Yeah.
That were just like, definitely you think about all those times where like, what am I doing, dude? Like, is this even worth it? You know what I mean? Like after like I'm 30, I got out of the military. I had a great job, got a great paying job. And I took this risk to chase this dream. Is this going to pay off? And then, you know what I mean? It did. So it's like, so yeah, those definitely had those, I'm super happy and grateful that, this paid off because man, if I would have lost that fight, that would have sucked. All that hard work, 2 times out there, shit would have sucked.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
so happy that I.
So what's
I said my friend. That's funny. My friend just popped in. He was turning down the basement, and he just had his first loss this week. So it's like, and I kind of was just talking to him all about this, about that. Is you know what I mean? He was undefeated going into that fight, and then he just had his first loss. So it's like, dude, it sucks, but like, you know what I mean? It's in the long run, if you make the changes right now, we can fix it. And then he's like, it's going to be way more beneficial. So it's kind of funny that we were just talking about that right when you walked in.
Yeah, that's I can't imagine what it's like, going the mental stress it is, after losing a fight and not knowing if there is a future for you in the sport, but it's something that you've been dedicating your life to for so long. And now I'm curious, like, after you win the Contender series, you get your UFC contract. What's it been like since then? Like, are you in constant contact with the UFC? Do you have a fight scheduled coming up?
So, so right now I'm in like, rehabbing, session, like area. So I'm not really looking for a fight yet. Just trying to get myself better after my last fight. I'm still I have like my shoulder. I mean, I have my shoulder playing hockey when I was a kid. That's a continuing injury that I had been having. So I'm getting that rehabbed right now. So we're not really actively looking for a fight yet, but I'm hoping to be getting ready for like March is when I want to fight, and when I'm 100% healthy and ready. But yeah, there's a lot of things that have been a little bit different. You know what I mean? Obviously, just like now I'm in the UFC, so it's like I'm a little bit more attentive about like who's fighting in the UFC now, and like what other guys are doing. and I'm a little bit more. I think it just made me more focused, man. To be honest, like it's like now it's like before it was kind of like it's almost like you fake it till you make it kind of deal, right? Like, you know what I mean? You believe in yourself, but you're not really in the UFC yet. So it's like, but now like I'm actually in the UFC. So I'm a little bit more disciplined in all aspects of my life. Like it's a job now, you know what I mean? Like, as I'm not just like going to do my workouts because I want to be as I am a UFC fighter. So like, I got to like make sure when I'm a little bit more focused, a little bit more locked on, I think, for every aspect when I'm getting ready for anything to do with my job now. But that being said, like I'm not like, well, for instance, like this end of this week, I'm going down with my team to UFC fights down in Austin, which like before I was in the UFC, I wouldn't even get that opportunity to go do something like that. You know what I mean? So there's things like that open up different opportunities where I'll be able to go do and experience. Also, I'm going to the First Form factory in, I don't know where it's in, like Ohio or something like that, which is a really cool, I just get different opportunities that I wasn't able to have before. And I'm really grateful for that because, that's where like kind of how the hard work pays off.
That's awesome. So yeah, coming up, you're looking for a fight in March. Do you have anybody on your radar? Do you have anybody you?
Oh, who we calling out?
Yeah,
who we calling out?
Do you have any names you're thinking of, or it does work like that?
It does work like that if you really want it to be. But like I feel like I'm a young buck on the UFC roster when it comes to like fighting, right? I don't want to be one of those guys like I want to prove myself, like, and then call somebody out. I want to get out there. I want to like whoever they give me for the first couple three fights, secure that contract, knock a couple people out, and then be like, hey, now I want to fight this person. I don't want to be one of those guys like talking right out of the gun. I haven't had a real UFC fight yet. So, I want to legitimize myself. I can't even say that word. And then can go out there and call somebody out. But I got some targets. I got some guys I'm already looking at, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure when you go to these fights, you're scouting a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Not you start sizing people up, you see them in person now, you're like, oh. Yeah, and they go to the UFC PI or go to these events, you look at somebody and you're like, now you start sizing everybody up.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I bet, dude. Well, man, we won't keep you too much longer, but I do want to dive into it. You've mentioned a few times about the mom's basement that you've created in your actual mom's basement, the training facility. Yeah. And I think it's noble to mention, man, something that really stood out to me in your come up and kind of watching from a distance, reading articles and just following your social media. You've always been very accustomed to giving back and doing something for first responders, people, veterans, giving back and knowing that, martial arts helped you so much in a mental health space coming out of the military and getting to where you are today. So man, I want to dive into like the mom's basement, man. Tell us how that came about.
So I opened up the mom's basement happened. So I was actually, I wanted to open up my whole kid's dream, basically childhood dream is own my own martial arts studio. That's what I really wanted to do. And, I finally got if I needed to kind of figure something out. So I started a gym at a CrossFit gym. I rented a space from the CrossFit gym. And, we had I just had mats down there and I was running my own classes. I started a kids program and this was just like right after the pandemic. And then with the pandemic, the CrossFit gym I was renting from wasn't necessarily doing that good because of, they weren't just getting the numbers they were getting before. They kind of forced to move. They were getting forced to move out somewhere else. And they decided to instead of dealing with that hassle, they're just going to fold up and, and that was it. So I was like, so it kind of screwed me. And I was like, shit, I don't have any place to go. So, my parents were like, all right, well, in the meantime, we could just put mats in the basement. You kind of continue your classes and kind of get that going. And I was like, all right. So I put them in the basement. And then now a year and a half later, we got like a cage and a full on gym. And I don't feel like we're going anywhere because it's a really cooler vibe now than it was any other gym I ever had. So, we right now it's awesome because like it's low stress, especially when I was still trying to, make it to the UFC. It's expensive. Like you have to spend your time running the business at the gym, to keep customers. If you don't show up, you know what I mean? People can stop coming. So like, it was hard to run a gym, especially if a fight week come up and like, I have to like kind of like dedicate my week to go fight, try to find people to cover me and all that. And, you lose customers. It was hard to keep that open. So keeping the gym in the basement, you know what I mean? I don't really have to worry about making rent every month, and I can keep that going, which was low stress. And it also created this like new environment that was just a different environment than every other gym. It's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like a little niche, cool little like thing that's different than your normal MMA gym. And I got a lot of good pro fighters fighting down there, and it's been awesome. So you talk about giving back, and like I love teaching. Like I said earlier, I like to teach because, it helps me relearn things another way. And it's just like, I kind of build my own little community down there. And on top of that, like every Sunday, I like to have fun and just do jiu-jitsu just for fun. Like a lot of my training is like very strict and disciplined, and it's, for with other professional fighters to like, for real serious training. And then like, I still like to enjoy it sometimes. So on Sundays, I open up my doors, and like, I just had like first responders and veterans and everybody, they come down there, we can train, we have a good time, smoke weed, do mushrooms, roll. It's great. And,
Hell yeah.
and then what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and with like the veterans thing is like, I just know what helped me and anybody who is struggling. So I just wanted to make sure that like everybody else has that ability to not have to worry about pain, not have to worry about, I don't really give a shit, dude. I just want people to come, and it's like, for me, it's like my Sunday church. You know what I mean? We just have a good time, relax, and I just want every veteran if they have the opportunity to come.
That's awesome.
And so.
You mentioned like smoking weed and taking psychedelics. Love it. And taking psychedelics.
Yeah.
Do you think psychedelics have helped you with martial arts and becoming a better fighter?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I think it's huge. I think a lot of the newer veteran community, like not like the old school guys like Iraq before that, but like the younger veteran Afghanistan guys, huge into psychedelics. Huge into like doing ayahuasca, weed, and trying to getting away from the alcohol thing. And I think it's really good for, helping and healing those guys and putting them into a better spot. So, and also, I mean, competitive wise, yes, I think it puts you into that flow state. I use it all the time. Like every time.
Are there rules in the UFC against psychedelics?
Nope.
Awesome.
You're cheating a mushroom.
Nope, mushrooms are legal.
Yeah,
there's nothing that tests for them. And those are legal.
Yeah, it's great, and it's been awesome to see.
So you can't test for them.
Yeah.
Did you do psychedelics?
I think
to help your PTSD when you got out of the military as well, and that was because I know they're doing that's a big thing nowadays.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
I did, but I didn't do it because I knew it was good for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kind of just, by accident found it for that. And, so absolutely. I more so recently though, for sure.
Love that.
The last, like probably I've been using it for training for like the last 2 years.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So yeah. And MDMA too. I think that's really important for guys, veterans and stuff. I think that's going to be the next thing that guys use to help them out with PTSD and everything.
No, it totally makes sense. Hey, and like I said, whatever it takes, because you guys have made the ultimate sacrifice. So whatever, nobody can understand what y'all going through. So that's a big thing for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. And I just think it's a lot better than a lot of other alternatives people are using, you know what I mean, for whatever. So yeah, it's been good.
Well, dude, Connor Matthews, man, it's honestly a true honor and pleasure to have you on the pod.
Yeah. Congrats on everything as well.
And this is cool because we're catching you at the beginning, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're catching you
more to come.
Yeah, the beginning of this journey. I'm hyped to watch you, man. I'm gonna be hitting you up for tickets to your fights, even though I'm probably like 133rd on the list.
Lower than that, but yeah.
Lower than that. But no, man.
Let's do it.
No, man. Congrats on.
Hopefully soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Congrats on all the success. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. And
future champion, baby.
Yes,
future
sir.
champion.
Yeah, we're hyped for it, man. Well, dude, thank you so much, man. Connor Matthews,
my pleasure, guys.
UFC legend, absolute hero to the United States.
Yep.
That's a Lobster and Beer episode. You guys have a great night. Thank you, Connor.
Peace.